Today on Adversity to Strength, I'm joined by David Tarnowski, the creator of Disappointing Affirmations, the viral Instagram account with over 2 million followers that turns dark humor and brutal honesty into a voice for mental health. David's journey hasn't been easy. He's lived with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, ADHD, and bipolar diagnosis. And out of that adversity, he's built something that resonates with millions of people who are tired of toxic positivity and just want to feel seen. His USA Today best-selling book, Disappointing Affirmations, Unfollow Your Dreams, mixes humor with raw empathy, reminding us that sometimes the most healing thing is to acknowledge how hard life can be. In this conversation, we talk about how Disappointing Affirmations was born, why humor can be such a powerful tool for survival, and how David turned his own struggles into a movement that dismantles stigma and embraces realness. This one's about honesty, resilience, and finding strength in the places we least expect it. David, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the podcast today.
Lee, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Take us back to the start of your journey. Where did this all begin for yourself?
Geez, the very beginning
Wherever it was for you.
is what I would say the actual beginning of this journey. I was 14 years old, and I had gotten into writing fiction, and I declared I was going to be a novelist, and that was all I was ever going to do with my life. I'm 47 now. I'm still not a novelist, but I'm getting there. I like to call myself the author of unfinished novels. So I've got 10 unfinished novels under my belt. Somewhere along the way, I discovered the art of essay writing. I had never gotten personal with my writing. It was always like fiction is hiding behind characters. I mean, I always think of it's this great, it's not a line, I'm paraphrasing The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde,
Mhm.
where Basil, the painter of the picture of Dorian Gray, doesn't want to put it on display because there's too much of him in it. So, he feels exposed by it. I think that's sort of the excitement of any kind of writing, but particularly with personal writing and just really going there. And I had never really gone there. And so once I did, I couldn't stop. And meanwhile, I think it was 2014, which seems like yesterday, but it's, now 11 years ago, I first
Yeah.
discovered the art of meme making. So I started making memes, and for the most part, they were what people would consider niche memes. I don't know if you know who Nick Cave is.
Yeah, singer,
Yeah,
Australian.
yeah. People in England are more likely to know Nick Cave than people here in the States. He's getting more of a name out for himself, but for years, I had a page called Nick Cave and the Bad Memes, and
Right.
I would do memes, and they were largely photos of Nick, and they were just funny sayings or whatever. And somewhere after the essay writing journey, I started like the two worlds collided, and I started being honest with how I was feeling in the things that I was posting. And so I started making memes that were about anxiety, memes that were about panic attacks, memes that were about just mental health and depression, because I mean, look, Nick is known for some pretty dark music, and people who like dark
Yeah.
music tend to be kind of dark themselves. And,
Yeah.
you know, to, I hate making generalizations, but, it's like total little aside. I was with my aunt, and we were listening to music, and Ozzy Osbourne had just passed, and we wanted to listen to Ozzy, and I was like, I want to put on an Ozzy song, and I put on a song, and it's like piano, and she's like, what is this? And it was that song Changes. I don't know.
I don't know changes. Yeah.
I'm like, leave it to me to pick like the most depressing song out of this man's like raucous catalog. But anyway, sorry, I'm tangent city.
That's all right.
So I was doing that stuff, and it wasn't like I wanted to do more. One of the things that I started doing on that Instagram account, and actually had another one that I was running for a while. It was a David Lynch Twin Peaks meme page called Sad Peaks. So it was through those things that I started sort of picking at this idea that would eventually become disappointing affirmations. And those pages needed to exist in a sense. I mean, I got a lot of training as it were, but they were sort of the reason why I went to the meditation retreat to begin with, because I was just like, I was tired of them. I was just sick of running them. I was sick of, it just wasn't doing it for me. And so I realized I mentioned the meditation retreat, but we were talking beforehand. The I was in 2017. I decided to go. It was a place in upstate New York, beautiful little area, and it's this nice campus. And I got away from the internet for 5 solid days. Took my
Was that?
phone. I put my phone in a drawer in the room where I stayed, and I just went out and I was with myself. I was with nature and all that. And there wasn't a lot of stuff to do, especially when you're used to being on the phone. It's like, not that you're doing a whole lot of stuff, but it's a fidget machine. You have this
Yeah.
thing in your hand that you can do constant things with all the time. And so I ended up spending a lot of time in the campus's bookstore. And because it was a meditation retreat and everything was zen and more of like a hippie vibe, there was a very, positive lean towards everything. And there were like affirmations galore. There were just like books of affirmations all over
Yeah.
the place. And I remembered that my ex-wife had really been into affirmations. It was something that she used in her daily life, and she encouraged me to do so. I was always more in the cynical side of things. If I saw an affirmation that was like, everything will be okay, it'd be sort of like, but, where's the
Yeah.
where's the other side of things? And so I realized I had on my phone thousands and thousands of nature scenes from vacations I'd been on over the years. And I was like, these are perfect backdrops for, what looks like a motivational thing and isn't, not that it isn't really, because I'm pretty sure you have a feeling of what I'm getting at when I make these things.
Yeah.
It's never the surface. It's always the subtext, and a lot of people that goes way over their heads. But so it was after that retreat I decided, you know what, let me stop working on these other pages that I'd been creating content for, and let me just start this new page. And, I already had big followings on the other pages, so I pointed them towards it to get things started and all that. But it blew up really, really quickly.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it was,
Look at that.
and where it really started, it was about a month in. It's kind of, I guess, what I would consider my signature disappointing affirmation. And I just made it off the cuff. It was, have a panic attack. You've earned it. Right. And that one, like, it was controversial because people are like, oh my God, how can you possibly say that about panic attacks? Panic attacks are a very serious thing. And, it's just, and that's sort of the road that I've had to walk is,
Yeah.
having to deal with a lot of people who do not get nuance, who do not get satire, who do not think that you should be making fun of certain things. You have a whole group, it's like there are these sacred cows, and I'm like, no, there's no sacred cow.
Yeah.
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 So that's basically, I mean, that's not the end of the story because it's been crazy since then.
Yeah.
The I mean, so I started the page in July. I got a little book deal offer in August, and that ended up becoming the first book that I put out last year, which has done amazingly well, and really, really proud of it. And it's led to the release of a lot of other things. And a second book is now coming out in a month. So it's been a roller coaster these last 3 years.
Yeah, it seems to have exploded. You got like 2.5 million followers on Instagram. What do you attribute that to? Just because of the sense of humor, the irony of everything about it, and
Yeah, it's
people
I
sort of
mean,
seeing what even what people often think. Do you know what? For example, I've had a stressful day. Do you know what? I've earned the right to have a panic attack. You know, nobody's taking it literally, but it's funny, and they're actually reading it. What do you reckon? Why it's been
yeah,
so
no,
successful?
it's a very, very, like, I wish I knew exactly what people wanted from me every day, as a content creator. It's just sort of like, I've always just thought of these things as, this is just how I feel. And what has been the overarching theme, as far as, like, you could sort of consider it a community that has kind of grown up around it.
Yeah,
A lot of people, they just don't feel seen by positive affirmations. They don't feel seen by the whole, just be positive, and everything will be great sort of mentality.
yeah.
And so it sort of offers a bit of an antidote. It's like, it's reverse psychology, it's to smack in the face, it's a bunch of different things at once.
I think as a therapist, I'm getting people to look at the positive things in their life and the gratitude list and that. Yeah, that's just a small tiny thing I'll do. But with the whole affirmations, along with the gratitude list, you've got to believe in it. And a lot of people don't believe in the gratitude. If they're having a terrible time, things are going to work out really well. I'm behind on my rent. My divorce is just coming through. I've got this to pay. I've got that to pay. But everything's going to be all right. I can't really see the way out there as well. So when they're reading your affirmations about it's a bad day and it sucks, here's why, and there's a joke behind that, it's like somebody actually understands me, and it's funny,
Right.
probably more likely to relate to that and go, you know what, it's probably not so bad because somebody else actually out there understands what I'm going through and they've made a joke about it. So more inclined to read that. For me, that's probably why you've got so many people that follow you.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, it definitely resonates. I mean, it's nothing I didn't reinvent the wheel. It's like, this is definitely a predecessor, is that the a successor
Yeah.
of, like, Jack Handy and Deep Thoughts and stuff like that. You I've definitely I would love to talk therapy shop, as if whatever you'd want to talk about, because I've been a huge proponent of therapy for years. It's another thing that comes from my ex. Um, I don't know what that says about me at the time, that she was just like, dude, you need to go to therapy. But, I listened to her, and, it's been an incredible journey.
In therapy. So
Yeah.
tell us about your start and therapy. So, because obviously, you've up and downs in life and things like that. But no matter what, you're a guy that's always got that dark sense of humor, or sense of humor, no matter what, no matter probably how low things are, you still got that joke going there as well. So tell us about what got you to go to therapy then. How did that come about? What was it that your ex-wife said you need to go to therapy for?
You know, I think it was just, I don't want to say inner child work or whatever. It was yeah,
It's always the inner child work.
I was a 36-year-old man baby,
Yes.
and so, I mean, look, when it took some convincing. It wasn't like she said it one time and then I said, sure, why not? But, she convinced me enough that, yeah, I thought I'd give it a try. I'll never forget my first ever therapy session. I literally just walked in the room. I had just met this person, and all of a sudden, I just, like, unzipped and was like, "Here is all this shit," And it was like a Dave Tarnowski starter kit. It was like,
Yeah.
it's like, I I took the bag of, all the stuff that I carry with me all the time, and just poured it all over her couch, or her carpet, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Did you feel better?
Oh god. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it was like an unclogging,
yeah,
and
it
it's just,
yeah,
but having done it for years now, I always look at it as more like excavation. It's
yeah,
like, each time you're just digging, and you get like you scratch that surface, and all of a sudden there's something that's like,
Yeah.
or like when you're getting a massage and they hit that one spot
Yeah.
and then they stay there. It's like that's
Yeah.
sort of what you need to, to
Oh,
get.
I've had it with clients that have gone, cheers for that, Lee. Good few months. You've helped me out there. Thanks ever so much. All the best in all your endeavors. I'm like, yeah, you look after yourself. And it's called a doorknob moment. They're just about to go, oh, by the way, Lee, I never told you this, but, and then they open it up. And then next thing you know, 6 months later, we're working on something else. It often happens.
Yeah, yeah. What one of my therapists called me out for dumping. Yeah, she's just like, every time you come in here, you just like dump this sack of things on me, and then we have to sort through it. And but I've gotten. I'd like to say I've gotten better at therapy over the years. Like I remember early on, because I was always also in couples therapy with my ex before she became my ex, obviously. And
Yeah.
one of the things that kept coming up was doing the work, right? And it's such an easy thing to say, oh, just do the work. And I remember crying out in one session. I was like, what is the work? And there's no way to tell somebody what their work is. They, at least, this is from my perspective, and that's one thing that I've always said at the outset. It's like, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not any kind of coach or anything. My publisher likes to call me a disappointment guru for whatever that's worth. But it's just an absolute amazing thing to talk to somebody, and not just somebody, but somebody who is completely objective, somebody who is there for you. Yeah, and when you do it right, the therapist is talking, a sixth of the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
You are doing you're doing the work. And that's when suddenly it's like, oh, this is the work. This is, and it's just wonderful to just feel completely unzipped, unclogged at the end of a session,
Yeah.
to hit that eureka moment that
Yeah.
happens many times.
With my clients, I always worry if I'm finding I'm talking too much. Same as in a podcast. I'm like, I'm talking too much. Why is that? Because I don't hear my own voice. And I want the client to do the work. And all of the clients that has got the best results are the ones that's put the work in, not just in a session, but they've done the strategies and techniques and been consistent with that there as well. But the best thing is, and I say it to all of my clients, is when the client answers their own questions, they solve their own problems. Then they're going to believe in it. All right, that makes sense now. Okay, fine. So that's always a good thing there. And I'd imagine that you've probably done that many times as well.
Oh god. And that's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best because it's like, it's sort of like any kind of thing that somebody says, somebody can tell me to do something, but it's got to be my idea to do it until I do it. It's
Yeah.
that sort of mentality. It's like once you then you're just flowing, and I think a lot of it has to do, I mean, a lot of everything has to do with it really is vulnerability, and being willing to go there, not just with your therapist, but with yourself,
Yeah.
to really like strip away your, perception of yourself, and just sort of, and I guess, I mean, look, there have been so many writers have tried to, tackle this and figure out like the id and the ego and all that stuff. I'm not here to, to join that crowd, but no, it's sort of like I'm mostly a lapsed meditator. I'm trying to really get back to the meditation, but it's similar to like a good meditation where you suddenly like you get out of it and you just feel just amazing. But one other huge thing as far as my mental health journey, which also sort of leads back into the disappointing affirmations,
Yeah.
was getting diagnosed. I had been going to therapy for 4 years before I sort of thought, you know what? I think there's something up here.
Yeah.
And, I'd been, because most of my life I'd self-medicated with, liquor and, weed and other stuff. And, it's like maybe I'm just missing something. And
Yeah.
so went to the doctor, got the bipolar diagnosis. So that that was great because I was able to sort of hang my hat on something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the more I read about my bipolar after that, the more I felt seen in what I was reading. I was like, oh, this is me exactly. Then so fast forward years later, and I'm doing the disappointing affirmations. And time again on different ones, someone would comment ADHD vibes.
Yeah.
And so I said to my therapist, I was just like, the internet is basically diagnosing me with ADHD.
Yeah.
Let me take the test. And of course I scored off the charts. And, it's good to know that too, because, you know, with the diagnosis, it on top of the therapy, when you start to understand more about who it is that you are and here,
Yeah.
your particular makeup, which is different from, anybody else, the more you can get out of it.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that lately we got onto, I was just like, I have a tendency to avoid things. Like
Yeah.
I have a very avoidant personality. I just like, even it's like, it's not that hard, but I just like, I just can't deal with it right now, and that's like such an ADHD trait, but we wouldn't connect the dots without going through all of the things. And then don't even get me started on medication because that's a whole other thing. But, for anyone watching who's, worried about, the medication aspect of it, it's a trial and error thing. And
Yeah.
it took me years.
Yeah.
It took me years to find my combo.
Had a guest on. She's from California, bipolar disorder, real manic phases. Really lovely. She was such a lovely person and brilliant telling her story. She said it took her years to get the medication right. She'd go to work, she'd fall asleep, and she did
Mm,
medication right. This worked, that didn't work, and she's like got some sort of happy medium there. But that's a real trial and error there as well. And I think ADHD seems to be like this similar as well. Again, because it's sort of like been around for a long time. It's only in recent years that it's now starting to come out more mainstream in the world of mental health.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the irony was, so I was like, all right, so let me get on some ADHD medication. And it was basically meth, and so I'm bipolar. I am taking, an antipsychotic. I'm taking, benzos because I have high anxiety. And I'm adding meth to that. Like, so I was like, all right, I'll try it. And it was like the first one. And I was just like, how the do people do this? This is insane. I was just going out of my skin.
Yeah.
But, it's and that's a whole other thing that just amazes me is just like medications, how they hit each person differently, but also how like an anti-seizure medication is also good for mood stability. Like science is wonderful.
Do you ever look back and think I had no idea how much I was carrying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Bipolar, ADHD, just the life that's gone on that's caused you to have therapy in itself. That's a lot. So I'm not surprised that your ex-wife went, yeah, you probably need to speak to somebody.
Well, because so basically, it's like it's a very weird thing, and people, and when I say people, I also like will lump myself into this as like somebody who just sort of learned the truth behind bipolar,
Yeah,
as at least as far as I feel it. It's like it used to be called manic depression, right?
yeah,
And so it was it's anxiety and it's depression, and it's not, well, I'm either anxious or depressed. It's like, no, I'm depressed all the time. And that's a wall that is sort of like behind me. And the anxiety is the lovely shit that just adds to the experience,
Yeah.
and so, because for a long time I had thought, when I was talking about my experiences with my doctors and, with anybody else who would listen, that they were just like two very separate things, but they work together. They're quite the team, depression and anxiety.
Yeah, I get it with clients. It doesn't have to be bipolar disorder, but
Yeah.
if they've got depression and they've got anxiety, they don't know how to deal with that anxiety. That anxiety then becomes catastrophizing, and they're off on a tangent. And you have to like, right, that's not going to happen. Here's why. Let's talk. Let's learn some strategies, that sort of thing. But you can see how it affects people in such a bad way there as well. With your bipolar, what one did they diagnose you with?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So because one, you have to have like a psychotic break, I think,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. So I never had that, but yeah, it was. I guess it's the nicer of the two. you know, it's eh, it it is what it is. I hate that saying. I fucking hate that. Sorry, can I curse? Is this?
Go for it. Go
Oh,
for it.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna slip out anyway. But
That's all right.
sometimes I gotta, you know.
So say what you like. I'm from a council estate. You won't know what a council estate is coming from
I've
America.
heard of it.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
heard of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Everyone there's got Tourette's. You're all right.
Oh, that is hilarious. Yeah.
Like the American version of the projects, maybe slightly a bit better.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. No, I've been called out on the Instagram and actually in book reviews about my profanity.
In
It's
a good
just
way or
like
a bad way.
in a bad way sometimes, but I'm very surprised when people get like, ooh, like censor that. It's just like I think we're, with all that we have to worry about in this world, we shouldn't worry about dirty words,
Not
like,
really.
yeah.
It's like I've got like certain comedians that I really like. Mickey Flanagan, very British comedian. Jim Jeffries obviously lives in America there. Now, I love him. I can't help it. His jokes are funny, but I'm waiting for him to say the word cunt. And I don't feel happy until he said it several times. I'm like, well, I can relax now and enjoy the rest of the show. Carry on.
That's hilarious. Yeah, one of my favorite people on the planet is Matt Berry, and no one can drop an F bomb like Matt does. That man has such a way with foul language.
Yeah. It's an art. It's an art. It
It
just,
really is. Yeah, and that's like, to speak to that. When I throw an f bomb in one of my disappointing affirmations, I don't do them frivolously. Like, f bombs are emphasis, and they have a very specific. Like, what I love about the word "fuck" is it's like it can be used in any way possible, and it's got a different emphasis the way you do it. It's like "fuck you" or
yeah.
"fuck you,"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's very versatile. Yeah. Sorry, good. You were gonna say.
So obviously with the sense of humor you've got and the diagnoses that you got, was there at any point you were thinking, do you know what? I reckon I've got loads to work with on these affirmations now. Did you think
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's I was already working it,
yeah,
so it was something that was already seeping into my work before I was officially diagnosed. So when I got officially diagnosed, it was more sort of like, I knew there was something. I'm glad I have a name for it now, and so then I started looking into bipolar and, and seeing all that, and but it's, one thing that has been a constant through my work is sort of like making these posts that give allowance to feel shitty,
yeah,
like, it's okay to be bad. Not be bad. It's okay to feel bad. And
yeah,
it's okay to be bad at times too. And it's okay to show it. Everything goes back to vulnerability, and without vulnerability, there's no way to become truly self-aware. Oh,
what you say in your affirmations is pretty much what I say in my therapy sessions with clients. I say to them, you might it's okay for you to feel upset or not happy about that. That's fine. You might not like it, but it's okay to feel that way. And sometimes look, you go, really? So I shouldn't be. No, well, why should you feel happy about that? It's okay to feel really pissed off, annoyed, whatever. You don't need to like it. Nobody says you have to. But what about all the? No, don't worry about that. How you feel? I feel terrible. Go for it. That's fine. With the whole positive affirmations and that, and I am all for it, but at the same time, it's a bit like eating too much cake, gets a bit sickly. You know, can you take the affirmations away? Because it's just like it becomes so much like overwhelming, and it's a bit like, I don't know, getting like a Mormon at your door or something. I don't know, where they're just trying to be the positive sort of,
Yeah.
and then you're like, mate, give us a break. Give me something that's the opposite to that. Actually, I feel more at home with that. I can relate to that better. You know, it's when you got one of them people that's always in a permanent good mood, it starts getting annoying quite quickly.
Especially if that person is like a health nut. And that's one of the things that you know, I think this was also an impetus for getting into, speaking out on mental health, just doing what I do now is the attitude of you're depressed, exercise. Right. There is nothing like I have nothing against exercise. Everybody, I believe it's great for everybody, and it's like, but there are people who are so depressed that they can't get out of bed.
Yes.
And you are telling that person that their cure is to get out of bed and exercise. They can't hardly move. And
Yeah.
that sort of mindset has always bugged me.
It does me. It does me. It's when you get somebody that is depressed, really depressed, and somebody comes along and says, just cheer up. It's just
Hmm.
smile. And it's like telling somebody in a coma to just wake up.
Yeah.
Oh, well, do you know what? Now you've pointed out to me that I should just cheer up. Fine, I'll get out of bed now, get dressed. Right, let's go for it. Let's hit the gym. You've cheered me right up. Cheers.
Day is completely better.
Right. I wish you'd come here months ago because it's been going on 6 months. So I just needed that.
Yeah.
It's beyond belief. But I think that's why it's so successful, because you get all of that, and people often, it depends on what your mood. If you're in a great mood, then give me all the affirmations. But if you're feeling terrible, you're going through hell because somebody close to you is just the last thing you want to see. But you might get through some ironic, dark sense of humor affirmation where I'm going through tough times using like good famous quotes that helped me get through it. When you go through hell, keep on going, that kind of thing. But I
Right.
easily see your ones, people literally resonate to that. Do you know what? I am going through, this guy actually understands that. I'm going to remember that one, it makes me laugh, so I feel actually a bit better than what I did before, and two, he's got a point to it as well, you know so I could,
Yeah.
I could see why disappointing affirmations are actually positive.
That is the trick behind them.
Is it talent, or is it just natural gift, or what is it with yourself? Because you seem like a guy that could just go, "Do you know what, give me 10, there you go." Or are you there working hard, or is it a bit of both?
It's a bit of both, honestly. I go through long streaks of feeling like, nothing I'm making is worth a damn. And you know, the thing with the short attention span economy that we have right now is you just like there's no choice, particularly if you are also working a business, or making a business out of it, where being social media and all of that is part of your business. You have to do it every day. And so it does become a quantity over quality thing, which I hate, because I want everything to be, of the utmost quality. I obsessed over these things, because it's like,
Yeah.
first it's the words, then it's the photo, then it's the placement of the words on the photo. Like, I could literally spend a day on one of these. I mean, that also speaks to my yeah, who I am mentally, and my obsessive side, I guess, would be that. But yeah, it's hard to get to a point where I feel like I'm done with something. But that is also the beauty of these things. I was, as I mentioned earlier, a unfinished novelist, and
Yeah.
these are the shortest stories you could possibly tell. I mean, it's like I have to convey a lot of different feelings, a lot of different points in this one little thing. But then once it's done, it's wrapped up in a little bow, and there it is. And going from long form fiction, long form prose writing to writing the shortest stories possible was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I can handle this because at least I can move on. But I do obsess over them, and I I wish I were the type of person who is just sort of always funny, who's just like always got that thing. I've got it some of the time, but
Right.
it's not I don't want to say, I mean, I did grow up in a family where everybody either made fun of everybody else, but in a good natured sort of way, or just tried to make everybody laugh.
Yeah.
That was sort of always the thing. And laughter has been my coping mechanism
Yeah.
for my entire life.
Yeah. It's
Make
a
a
good one to have.
it's like, oh, you make a joke out of everything. It's like, if I
Yeah.
can, yeah, I totally will.
Yeah.
There are certain things like, there are certain, so this, God, I'm sorry. It's one of those taboo subjects, but
Go for it.
yeah. So one thing that I would like to tackle more is suicide and suicidal ideation. These are things that I've had suicidal ideation for most of my life, and it's sort of like anytime I catastrophize, automatically the mind goes
Yeah.
there. And on social media, it's tough to talk about those things, let alone make memes about them, because that's like a bridge too far. And also, there's a lot of like censorship around it. Like even if you say the word suicide, you
Yeah.
could get flagged or whatever. That's been one of the things that my next project that I'm working on is actually a novel. I'm stepping back into the fiction writing
Yeah.
world, and I do want to tackle a lot of suicide as a subject, and that, because I think that it needs to be spoken about more. There's one thing that I've noticed, because one thing that I have done over the years on my Instagram accounts, and I do it on Disappointing Affirmations from every now and then. I'll do a Q&A in the Instagram stories. So you can post a little question sticker, you call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so somebody types in, and so I get all these. And when you respond, it's totally anonymous. There are so many people who respond that they want to kill themselves, and a large amount of them are young males,
Yeah.
and that I know that's a huge epidemic, around the world. Is It's tough. I know, like, even people my generation, it was tough to be accepted, as far as going to therapy, and, that being okay. Like, I've tried to talk my parents into going to therapy, and that's not going to happen. The baby boomer generation does not do therapy. But because the stigma is still there, I think a lot of people don't look for help, or they don't know where to look for it.
They don't know where to look for it. A high percentage of my new clients come to me. They've been everywhere else apart from therapy. Therapy is their last resort. They've tried everything else. You should have come here first, and they should have come here 3 years ago. The problem is with the older generation, a lot of them don't understand it. They don't know the difference between mental health and mental illness. That's the thing there. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
straight jacket. That sort of thing. No, we're going to sit down and have a chat, all ages, but for example, older people come to me and sit down, and it's so they're panicked, a guy that's like about 60, 70. You're right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm really not, don't worry about it. It's fine. Look, this is me. I ain't changed no matter what. And how I'm talking to you now is how I am as a therapist. And they're expecting me to get a clipboard out and then lay down and we're just having a chat. And it's pretty much no different to me and you having a chat. And now, is that it? Yeah. Oh, that's not so bad. I survived. But what about this? And you're going to ask me loads of, no, we're just going to have a chat. That's your lot. And you can see the relief because they've built up this, they've seen it on a movie or whatever, and it's no, that's not completely it. But what about it? I said that's like Freud. We're not doing that. That's psychodynamics. We're not doing that. What we do? We're just gonna have a chat. But we're doing therapy, yeah. But don't worry about that. As long as you feel better, we get your results. Who cares? Yeah, all right, fine. And you can see the relief. But it's getting them to actually get there. Yeah.
Yeah. And so much of there's a lot that pop culture is to blame for things like convincing people that if they even talk about suicide, they'll be put in a mental institution. Like, I remember I carried that belief with me for years. I don't know where it started, but it was just like, oh my God, don't tell anybody that, because, then, and, that is so counterproductive.
Well, I've had the endless clients come to me saying they're suicidal, and I'm just the way I am, sort of thing. And I'm like, no, you're not. And they're like, how can you say that I'm not suicidal? And when I've just told you that I am, and I was like, right, okay, right. Do you want the pain that you're in to stop, or your life to come to an end? Oh, the pain that I'm in to stop. Yeah. Okay. So that's it. So it's an ideation. Have you done this? This? No, I haven't done that. Oh God, no. So a lot of people get confused by ideation to actually really want to do it. Now, if you got somebody, as you know, that's like, right, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, this is where I'm going to go. This is how I'm going to do it. And I've got everything ready. Okay, then I'm a bit more serious. But somebody's like, yeah, I have a really bad day at work, but it'd be all right tomorrow. But when I was driving and there's a bridge there, I could jump off there. No, it's your brain going, I'm not sure how to figure out how to solve the pain you're in. I found a solution, but it's a permanent solution for a temporary problem. So you're probably best not doing that there as well. And for me and my experience as a therapist, the vast majority of people that I've spoken to don't actually want to end their life. I reckon it's in tiny percent that genuinely do. That I've had a client where I've gone, this person genuinely does want to. Everyone else, they just want the pain they're in to stop, whether it's they've lost somebody, they've been through this, been through that there as well. But they often think that they actually do want to do that. And it's because they've never had that conversation. So if they do have that conversation and actually understand it a bit more, they can go, that's an ideation caused by this, caused by that. So, okay, that's fine. It's easy to deal with, And I think that is an important, I think 100% get what you say. I totally agree with. People don't talk about it. It is a taboo subject. And it's really important because by having those conversations, it's going to massively affect people in a positive way, and it will save lives just by having a conversation. So I think it's brilliant with what you're looking to do.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's brilliant what you said as far as asking them, do you want to end your life, or do you want the pain that you're going through to end? Because that's absolutely it. I can recall my ex and I split in the summer of 2020, just when COVID was getting crazy. And I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time, and I couldn't really travel home because of COVID and all that, and it was keeping everybody, COVID messed with so many of us. I mean, I think in ways that we still don't understand and won't understand for years to come. But it was the winter of that year. I mean, I just remember the grief that I was going through from the loss of the relationship and
Yeah.
everything. I would walk over this bridge in DC, and it was, 150-foot drop onto a highway, and I would pause and I would consider it, and obviously I never did it because I'm still here, but, there is that moment when ideation can cross over into, obviously, a tragic moment. And I just think it's important to acknowledge, that you're in this amount of pain before it gets to a tragic point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And knowledge is power.
No, absolutely.
So the most heartbreaking one, I think I had a young lad that was about 17, and he wanted his life to end. And I was like, why? And he'd broken up with his girlfriend that he'd been dating for like 2 months. And I said, and by the end of that, he was laughing and joking, and he was like, that's the last thing he wanted to do. But he was in that feeling, and he didn't think that was, because he's only 70, he thought that was how he's going to feel forever. When I explained to him, look,
Yeah.
every feeling we have, good or bad, is only temporary. Otherwise, we'd all be in the best moods ever. So it's not going to last. And by the end, it went so well. He understood. And I was like, look, you're 17. You've got loads more breakups to come, which he found hilarious. you know? So when I sort of said,
It's absolutely true.
and he realized that, all right, okay, I get it. And I was like, look, the way you're feeling now, and I explained to him that a breakup, a relationship coming to an end, I said, I do bereavement counseling. So the conversation I'm having with somebody whose relationships come to an end to somebody who's lost somebody is almost word for word. So you're going through the same processes. It's the same conversation. When I explained to him, he understood that there as well. And I've had obviously many conversations with clients in the past there. And by explaining to them, they understand it. And when you say, look, this is temporary, yeah, and it takes as long as it takes, but there's things that you can do to help that process along the way and make it easier. I emphasize easier, not that it's going to be easy, but you will get through this. Here's the reasons as to why. Okay, fine. And then where they've got a bit more knowledge, they get a bit more belief, a bit more confidence. And even then you can see their mood shift there as well. But you have to have that conversation, because if you're on your own in your own world and you're not speaking out about it, you just go around in a loop and you've got that tunnel vision and you can't think of anything else. Where somebody that's impartial go, what about this? I haven't thought of that. Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Why would I do that? You know,
Yeah.
for me, getting the word out, doing what you're doing is brilliant. By laughter, because that makes it even easier for people to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, that's the whole thing, to I guess I could segue into a very clever way of plugging my book.
Yeah. Tell me your book. Tell me about what you're doing next. No,
My book, it's probably gonna come in backwards on here because don't they always? But
that's
yeah,
all good. Sorry in advance for making things weird.
yeah. So this comes out October 7th. And why I brought it up is unlike the first book, it's actually broken up into chapters. So depending on what you need, you can go if you're grieving, there's a chapter on grief. If you're having frustrations with work, there's a chapter on work. And there's a bit of writing in there too. I got a bunch of little talk about little personal essays that we were talking about earlier. Those are peppered throughout. And that's, one of the things that you're not just with the page, but that I like and really want to try to use the books for
Yeah.
is, this, just getting people to be more vulnerable, to open up, and laughter it's the best way to get into anything, right? And so if I can make people feel seen with these things, and just making them laugh at the absurdity of life, I'm happy with that.
I think so. Because if you can make people laugh at things that people don't even want to talk about, don't even want to acknowledge, and you can make them laugh, that's making a big difference. That's going a long way. Yeah, because that might be a meme that somebody's, how often you get people, I've got mates forward stuff onto me and stuff like that. But if they're, yeah, listen to this, and it's one of your memes about like suicide, but it's a joke and it's got a point to it there as well. And other people spread the word's being spread, and you're doing it in a brilliant way there, and an entertaining and a funny way as well. So I think that's great. And obviously with the book coming out October the 7th is brilliant. David, it's been fantastic. Absolutely loved it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
This has been amazing. It really, really has. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure talking to you.
No, pleasure is definitely all mine. Thank you so much.